You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network.
Welcome to episode 113 of the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is journalist, podcast star, and blogger Jessica Szilagyi.
What up? Thanks for letting me be a part of this podcast.
You hired me.
Hired is a loose term.
Yeah, I was about to say I came at the right price.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
How's your week in quarantine?
Last week was kind of a blur. Like, I didn't really get much done, and it went really quickly. It was the first week where I didn't really feel all that productive. But, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it just wasn't, I was kind of all over the place. What about you?
You know, it turned out to be a cooler week. So, you know, when the high is 65, I'm non-essential. So, hung out at the house. Tonight I'm slow cooking some beans, which I'm excited about because look, I'm going to be on my 600-pound life here shortly because, you know, I'm just kind of eating whatever's available at the grocery store shit that I don't normally eat. Sorry, Eric. Just because it's there. And it is, especially with Connie having to work every day, I find myself pacing the house and opening the fridge. I'm like, why the hell am I looking in the fridge? I'm not hungry.
Yep.
So, yeah.
You're just bored.
I don't know whether I need to go to AA or Weight Watchers first when this is all over.
Goodness. Yeah, I saw a thing where Ford is talking about putting buzzing wristbands on their employees to keep them 6 feet apart. And I was like, I'll put one on my wrist and one on the fridge.
Yeah, but I can deal with the buzz. I mean, I need a taser. Pow!
A blowback. Yeah.
Well, you know, just like when people trying to quit smoking, they put a rubber band around their wrist every time they want to reach for a cigarette. They smack themselves with the rubber band. Or
really?
Cursing. Yeah.
Never heard of that.
To reinforce to put negative reinforcement on doing bad habits. By the way, nice yoga pants, says our old friend Vernon Jones, who last week endorsed Trump.
No.
He's such a loser.
Well, you need to expound upon that.
I mean, go ahead and...
Okay.
How much are you going to share about what he endorsed Trump? He's a Democrat. Like, it's big news, right?
You know, he's a state rep. He's from everybody I've talked to that's on the floor. Jones is a different dude. You know, he walks around in a cowboy hat and jeans. He's a big gun owner. He's just a different dude. And the comment about your yoga pants. Anybody who's listened to the show for a while, the first time Jessica met him, he made a comment about her yoga pants because they were in the gym together. And she's like, "No, I'm a reporter." He's like, "Oh."
He is a sick puppy.
Yes, that was when I lived in Atlanta, which he was in the, I think it was, gosh, I don't even remember if he was still in DeKalb County politics or if he was kind of in his little down period. But you talk about him being a gun owner and everything and the cowboy hat, like those things are all true. And he said that he's not really a Republican, not really a Democrat, but really he's just he's a gun owning and gun appreciating liberal. Like he talks about fiscal conservative policies and being open to them, but he doesn't really vote for them. He doesn't. Like, I've seen his voting record. He either doesn't vote 25% of the time or he votes with the Democrats. He doesn't split with his party. I think he's doing this for attention because he's been on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC. Like, he's been... The story made headlines, and of course, it's hilarious to me that Republicans are like, see, even Democrats think that Trump is great, and Democrats are like, he's an embarrassment to our party, and the Georgia GOP immediately put it out for a fundraising tweet saying, like, you've got to donate. We've got to, Trump is changing hearts and minds in America. Let me tell you something. Vernon Jones was in the DeKalb regime when people went to prison and has been part of all kinds of scandals. He hasn't been able to pick his principle. He can't pinpoint his principles on anything. He doesn't show up 25% of the time on the roll call, even though he's there. He just skips the votes. You want me to be impressed that you recruited him to your party? Congratulations.
And I don't think he's changing parties. Look,
well, there's rumors about it, but you've drawn him to your side.
No. Here's the thing. Trump isn't a Republican either. Not by strict definition. Not by 1970 standard of conservatism and fiscal conservatism. Trump is a Republican because that's what he needed to be to get elected. Many things on his platform could very well have fit with the Democratic platform in the 1980s. Obviously now with AOC and the outright socialist agenda, it's a little different. But Vernon Jones, even if he flips or goes independent or whatever he does, is not a Republican. Now, we're not talking about votes that he missed because he had to be elsewhere. And again, my condolences to his family. He just recently lost his mother, I believe. And I know he missed some votes doing stuff with her. But when you talk about voting present, you mean I just punt. I'm just not going to vote on this one.
Yeah, he missed some votes, but there's an option in the legislature to be excused so that there's an E next to your name so everybody knows that you weren't there to vote or that you were busy or taking care of other business. And all you have to do is tell the clerk. It takes 2 seconds. So I don't really feel that bad for him.
Yeah, voting present is something altogether different. I'm in the building. I've heard the legislation, and I'm just not going to vote up or down. I'm going to abstain, which I don't think they should. I don't think they should be allowed to do. I mean, you have to take a stand one way or the other.
I don't think the vote should close until everyone's voted. Yeah,
absolutely. Everybody who's present. Now, look.
Right.
Again, if you've got family obligations, if your mama is in hospice, yeah, absolutely. You call just like if any other job on earth. Hey, I can't make it in today. My mother's going into hospice. Hey, go take care of your family.
People get that.
Yeah, and every other job on earth, that's exactly what you do. You still have to call, even if you're sick. I can't make it in today. I got the Rona. Okay, we'll see you in a month. Whatever it is, you check in with your boss, and if you're getting paid by the state, for that 40 legislative days, state's your boss.
Yet here we are.
And what I do like about kind of his political stuff is I think he is an example of most people that people do have changing and evolving views. You can believe in larger government and more programs, and also believe that you have the right to bear arms and like guns. You can believe that you can be pro-choice and small government. You can be pro-life and be big government. These battle lines. That's the problem we have with team politics. Is we get these battle lines that are drawn that you have to adhere to, and most people are on a spectrum. They're not. Well,
most people are wrong, though.
Well, that's true. I mean, let's say I'm not. I'm pretty well hard right. When I say right, I mean small government.
But you're right. You can believe this and you can believe that. You can believe anything you want. But the one thing I don't respect is when you're not consistent. If you are consistently progressive and you are, every time you show up to be that big government person, then I can support that from a perspective of you're a consistent person. I know what to expect out of you. I don't.
Well, that's the problem I have with the ACLU. Is if you can stand up for rights, you can stand up for all rights. Like the ACLU should be totally opposed to the Brady Center Against Gun Violence. Like they should be adamantly opposed to it, but they're not. True small government conservatives should love the ACLU because they're supposed to be there to give to protect individuals against government overreach.
Right.
I don't know, man. Speaking of overreach, Van Johnson is watching you. This is something I saw on your page. And if you don't follow Jessica, I mean, you have to. I mean, my page is pretty boring. But Jessica's gets some fireworks, man. The drone used usually by Savannah police for SWAT team incidents and major traffic accidents is now being deployed to encourage social distancing during the ongoing COVID-19 state of emergency.
Are you going to read what the drone said? What does the drone say? Oh, this is the Savannah Police Department. Due to the current health emergency, members of the public are reminded to keep a safe distance of 6 feet from others while in public places to reduce the spread of the coronavirus.
Repeatedly declared while soaring above Forsyth Park.
So, okay, I don't like it. I really don't at all. But that's not what upset me about this. What upset me about this story is that Van Johnson put it on his own page, and then when people pushed back on it, he would say things like, I can't wait to see someone go to jail about this, and, someone's like, oh, where are you going to fly this? And you can't fly this at the Walmart. And he said, oh, yes, we can. And we have all these exemptions and we're this and we're that. And no, you're not. Sit down. You're back in your box.
And he, talk about being consistent. He didn't back down. He didn't say, well, maybe we need to revisit the policy. And it's like, no, this is exactly what I want the police doing. To remind everybody, Van Johnson is the guy that wanted to pass anti-gun ordinances in the city of Savannah when he was a council member or whatever the hell they call him down there, alderman or whatever. He is a hard. He's a piece of something. But he is a hard left guy, and he's unabashed by it. I mean, he is a big government guy. I mean, I guarantee you this is the guy that's pissed off about Kemp preempting all local COVID-19 responses.
Yeah, he's really just... And, one of the things that I did agree with him on is about, well, I sort of agree. He has pushed on the decriminalization of marijuana, which I agree with, but I have a problem with when we cherry pick at the local levels and county versus cities and the confusion it causes for the public when it really should just be a state thing. But that's beside the point. I agree with his position on it. And his position behind that was like justice reform and personal responsibility from the standpoint of, minor possession stuff. Saying I can't wait to see people go to jail over this kind of drone pushback and saying you're going to fly it on public property and put people in jail or incite them for it is not justice reform. Again, he's not consistent. He's wrong.
He likes power, and this is his bit of power. That's the only reason that you would do this. This is an overreach. I don't even. It's the drone itself flying over and reminding people to stay 6 feet apart. Whatever.
It's stupid.
But it's stupid. But I mean, I guess it's a PSA. It's just using a drone to do it. It's just using new technology to do a PSA. And
they already have the drone, so they didn't go out and buy. Yeah,
Yeah, so not a big deal. It'd be like the same thing as sitting in the police car using your loudspeaker and say, hey, this just as a reminder, anybody, please stay 6 feet apart from anybody who is not a member of your immediate household. But, I heard stories in Woodstock of people being threatened for sitting with their spouse. Like, you guys need to be 6 feet apart. Like, this is my wife. I don't care. You need to be 6 feet apart. You need to walk 6 feet apart. So these local governments are getting out of control, and it is, and I don't even know it's power as much as it is a total disrespect for the common sense of others, which I do. I guess I have, but I know better than you do. Mm-hmm. Same thing that causes you to drive your GSP cruiser out on a beach and get it picked up by the ocean to tell people to stop fishing.
Womp, womp, womp.
Let me tell you something. Nothing offends me more than being told not to fish. I mean, like, up yours. I've got to feed my family. Fresh fish is good. But he was on. So anyway, back on the story and off the hog trail. He was on local media outlets all week defending the decision.
Right. Which.
So.
If it's so good and the community wants it and thinks it's a great idea, why you got to defend it so much?
He also likes the FaceTime.
Oh, sure. He's eating it up. And, I'm blocked from his page still, which is hilarious to me because there's people that I'm friends with that are worse to him than I was, and they are top fans on his public page, but I'm blocked. So I just screenshot everything and post it on my own page and tag him. And sure enough, every time just about he comments back to me, which is hilarious. And
your friends don't have your platform.
Well, obviously blocking me from commenting isn't going to stop me from sharing his stupid decisions.
He also is in violation of the law. I mean, since he is using his personal page.
Oh, it's not his personal page.
Oh, that's his official page?
Oh, yeah, it's Mayor Van Johnson that has me blocked.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, if we ever get civil rights attorneys back, and hopefully they'll be very, very, very busy, it's going to be time to sue.
Yes, I'm ready.
Because not only are you Jessica, you're also a reporter for a news outlet. That's blocked.
I think so too. I think that makes it worse. I mean, not worse because it's the same. It's the same like offense, but I think it's worse that he wants to have that negativity and is that thin-skinned.
Oh yeah, he is. He's a local Lincoln. If he could throw you in jail, he would. Like, you ought not step foot in Savannah.
Right.
Like, they probably have a license plate scanner, comes back, pops up. Hey, is that the same Jessica Szilagyi? Let's go ahead and pull her over. So, speaking of lawyers and suing, strip club owners sue the government for excluding them from the COVID-19 relief. They aren't eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program loans from the Small Business Administration. They're also not eligible for the EIDL, the emergency whatever, the grant, the grant and loan that's available. The PPP is distributed as a forgivable loan for small businesses, those who profit through the sale of products or services and the presentation of any depiction or display of prurient sexual nature, including live performances. Woo.
I mean,
why y'all hate the strippers?
Yeah, it's fine to take their taxes and to, give them a business license for a fee and make sure they're up to code for a fee and all these legitimate business things all year round. But then when it's time to bail out businesses, which I don't support bailing out businesses, but if you're going to, There's lots of businesses that I think are crappy or immoral, but they're still eligible because it's my opinion that's making them immoral.
Right. And I believe casinos are excluded also. But oddly enough, the Haji shop down the street that sells, $100,000 a day in scratch-offs is eligible.
Yes, and then... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and understand, I'm not a big fan of these handouts. I think the PPP is nothing more than a buy down of the unemployment rate. Even though the numbers are going to be astronomical, they're going to be mitigated by the government paying business owners to keep people on payroll, even though there's no business for them to do, and forgiving that amount is what's going to keep the unemployment number from hitting 50, 60, or 70%, because even the gun club down the street from me opened back up for takeout service after this, and I guarantee you that they went and filed for the PPP, and they're using that to make some money while this is going on. But I feel like we adjudicated this recently.
We did with Renee Unterman's unconstitutional stripper tax, but you can't tell me that you can shut down a business during a pandemic and then tell that company that they can't apply for the money for businesses that are struggling because of the shutdown of the pandemic.
Right. I mean, I don't understand how a stripper is any different from a hairdresser. They're both independent contractors. They're both employed by a larger company as a 1099 employee, typically. They both perform services that are close in nature.
And to voluntary consenting adults.
Right. Look, as many jokes as I make about strippers, I don't frequent strip clubs. Mostly because it's a waste of money. But if that's what the market is calling for, that's fine. So we found out that the stripper tax is illegal because it unjustly penalizes one legal service over the others. So I don't know how this isn't the same. I don't know how they can say, well, we're not going to include strip clubs, but Ruth's Chris can get however many millions of dollars. $20
million.
And their steak has gone downhill in the last few years. But the creme brulee is still wonderful. But yeah, if I don't understand how a company that doesn't have to shut down 100%, because they could still do takeout and delivery. Mm-hmm. I don't know how good it would be, but you can't really do other than we did a story about the strippers delivering food. I don't know if we actually did it. I just read it on your page. Hordash, yeah. I don't know how you justify that other than when these folks were sitting there writing the regulations, and the only way they could get it through some of the quote unquote conservatives is to exclude strippers.
That's pathetic.
And we are so going to a strip club when this all opens.
Who's we?
You and me.
Oh, no, we're not.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because it's going to be our obligation to take care of those poor women who can't afford clothing.
That's another thing, though. Like, what I don't understand, conservatives, a stripper who is employed and a stripper who is working, or a stripper who is working for an entity that has received the funds, isn't standing, yes, it's a bailout and a handout, but she's not standing in line for her benefits. And again, I don't know. I can't stand the lack of consistency with it, but I also just, the long-term effects of this, like, it's almost like the government wants people to be unemployed.
I don't get it. I mean, you didn't have to specifically put them in the bill.
Right.
I mean, you didn't have to say, and if you're a stripper, you get this much. You didn't have to say that. All you had to do was just say all small businesses under 500 employees that meet these criteria, all paid employees that meet this criteria. Now, keep in mind, the people that are not paying, that could be paid through this, are not just the strippers. It's the bartender, the door guy, the cleaning people, everything else, the maintenance guy that goes around and changes light bulbs and stuff. All these people that aren't necessarily associated with what you think is, people think it's not you, but people think as immoral. And it's not the government's job to decide what's moral. As far as I'm concerned, if the Moonlight Bunny Ranch out in Reno had to shut down, because I assume you can't socially distance with a hooker, that if everybody else qualifies, they qualify too. Because what they're doing is not illegal by Nevada law nor federal law.
Right. I think government's immoral, but I'm still having to deal with them.
Yep. Yeah, well, government may be immoral, but it's not. They're not going anywhere.
And they're non-essential, but whatever.
But to finish the story, the Silk Exotic lawsuit against SBA claims entertainment is provided by Silk is non-obscene, appeals to the healthy human interests and desires, and is in full compliance with the numerous licenses and permits that held by the plaintiffs and have been reviewed by municipal authorities and renewed annually. And of course, the SBA declined to comment.
Really quick, the one other facility in Michigan, I love their name. It's Little Darlings.
Yeah, some of the signs that were posted outside the strip clubs is pretty funny too. We're sorry, we're clothed.
Yep.
So speaking of motorboating, Michiganders protest over the stay-home order. So the Michigan governor puts out some really heavy stay-at-home order, but it says Michiganders can go out in sailboats and canoes, but cannot use motorized watercraft such as fishing boats or jet skis, which is where that transition comes from.
These are our opinions, but only some of these are Dave's.
Hey, look, I'm personally offended when you tell me I can't go fishing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Maddock, a member of the Michigan Conservative Coalition who helped organize the protest, said Whitmer's gone too far by banning motorboats, prohibiting travel to in-state vacation residences, forcing stores to close areas dedicated to carpeting and furniture, and declaring plant nurseries and garden centers non-essential businesses and landscapers non-essential workers. Whitmer also warned of fines up to $1,000 for violating the social distancing rules.
I'm so tired of the cities and counties and whoever imposing a fine for violating social distancing, because I understand that the state is the victim in all cases, like it's state v. Dave Roberts when you committed a crime or whatever, but $1,000, like what have I damaged to the city or the county? What are you in need of restitution for?
Not just that, I would argue that nurseries are essential for people growing their own food.
Mental health,
landscapers are not essential.
Well, yeah, until your freaking hospital has weeds and everything and you can't get through the doorway because it looks like the Amazon. And you have rats and mice and all kinds of rodents and things running around in your high stuff because your landscapers aren't keeping things up. Sure.
It's outdoor work. That is about the best work that you can do right now is outside of the sunshine. Is if you're in a confined space because they deem you essential, you're in a confined space of recirculated air. Outside, I mean, you can.
That shit
why
is
can't
fresh.
you? Yeah. Why? I mean, why shouldn't we be encouraging people to stay outside? I mean, not in Michigan right now because the other day when they were protesting, it was snowing.
I know. That did make me laugh. But they were in their cars.
Yeah, but encourage people to stay home, work in your garden, stay in business. Pay that guy who comes and cuts your grass every week. Keep him going. That's what I'm doing. I'm paying. I have a landscape company that takes care of my yard because in the summertime I just don't have time.
Right.
I end up working 18-hour days. I just don't have time to keep it up. But when he called and it wasn't quite ready to cut, I went ahead and said, "Yeah, man, come on by. Let's start doing this. Let's start cutting the grass because I know he's hurting." And that's what we should be doing is looking at these small companies that say, "Yeah, I know you're hurting. Come on by. Let's go ahead and do this." And
absolutely.
I paid him distantly. I put the check in an envelope and left it for him on the porch. We didn't have to interact with each other. He happens to be a family business, so the people that were riding the truck with him they live together anyway. So this is totally, again, you keep going back to consistency. Totally inconsistent with it's just okay. Landscapers aren't, but auto workers are essential. It is.
You're totally right, though, about having your landscaper still. I mean, I understand that not everyone is in the position to be able to keep paying things and things like that. But, my gym is a locally owned gym. We didn't have to pay the $35 in April because they're closed for the whole month. But I paid anyway because, one, I think $35 is... You could get in the conversation about spreading out what you think a membership is worth over a year and how much use you get out of it and all these things. But two, I value them in the community. I want them to be there when this is over. So should I pay $35 now or do I say, oh, well, I'm not gaining anything out of it and they're closed. So and also as libertarians or whatever you want to call yourself, that's what we advocate for is supporting the community when you can. I would be a hypocrite for me to say that I'm just going to cut off all the things that I can still afford to do because I'm not, it's part of helping your neighbor, literally.
Yeah, it's tipping the Uber Eats driver. Tipping well. Thank you for continuing to work. I know things are tough. And I understand it's a privileged statement. And trust me, I'm not just walking around like money bags and throwing money around, but as much as I can help support the local nurseries, help support the guy cutting my grass. My house really does need to be cleaned. The maid hasn't been here in 5 weeks, but that's an indoor thing, and I respect her decision not to come.
But I'm also of a belief that it's good juju. What happens if, neither one of us are in positions where we have, I don't know, we have different types of jobs compared to what we're talking about, but it's just the right thing to do. And for government to say that we can't do that is ridiculous. Right.
And, the protest was great. It was what they call a deadlock.
Operation Gridlock.
Gridlock.
But it was a deadlock too.
Yeah, and then the governor gets on TV, this little smarmy B word. Well, if you want to be angry at me, I guess you could just be angry at me, but I'm looking out for you. I'm like, you little turd.
Let me look out for myself. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know what, sweetheart? You just ended your name on the list for being presidential candidate with Biden because she was working her way up the list. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think because Biden needs. He said he's going to pick a woman, and he needs Michigan. Well, he just lost that, or she just lost that.
I agree.
Because when you have that kind of turnout, and look, Michigan is not a deep blue or deep red state. It's a heavily union, very blue collar type of state, and they were not happy. I mean,
which I think speaks volumes about how ridiculous it is. I mean, I'm proud of them. So someone made the comment, and I didn't really think about, so I appreciate the comment that, they created problems because the protest would be like locking things down and making the roads impassable for ambulances and first responders and things like that, which is true. I agree with that. Like, they did do that, but from your government's out of control and it's time to make a statement perspective, I think what they did was very much the right thing, because everyone around the country was watching them say, you can't buy seeds, you can't buy car seats. When you go to the store, these things are going to be roped off, and we're all sitting there like, are you guys okay with this? Like, is this what's wrong with Michigan?
Not just that. I mean, look, you don't like the lockdown, that's fine. But there are other times in history where these people would have gotten together to storm the state house, drug her out, and hung her. Mm-hmm. Or at least tar and feather and run her out of town on a rail. I think this was a measured response and a respectable response to something that was...
Peaceful.
What's that?
It was peaceful.
Absolutely.
And they did adhere to social distancing. What more could you ask for out of a protest?
Right. I mean, yeah. Speaking of...
Oh, yeah, what a segue there.
Speaking of protests, has anyone in the North Carolina government actually read the Bill of Rights?
The city of Raleigh is this week's loser of the week, even though we don't do that segment anymore. Like, by far, the worst of the worst this week.
Yeah, absolutely. The police shut down approximately 100 protesters of the libertarian group Reopen North Carolina. The majority of the protesters were demonstrating from their cars, abiding by the North Carolina social distance guidelines. So the North Carolina State Police, I believe it was, came out and said, protesting is not essential.
And they actually went through the order and said, we didn't see it anywhere in the order.
By the way, I'm sorry, it was the Raleigh police said protesting is a non-essential activity.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you why it's not in any executive order. Because it's already in the Constitution.
The right of the people to peaceably assemble. Doesn't
Quite
say...
literally why we have the First Amendment, other than freedom of the... I mean, good Lord.
Yeah. Because they'd just gone through something where they weren't allowed to assemble. Where taverns were raided for at the time, subjects getting together to talk about what was wrong with their government. And they actually arrested somebody.
They only arrested one woman out of, I mean, I'm not saying only like she doesn't matter, but out of all the people that they were hollering about, they arrested one, but she's got one hell of a federal lawsuit when this is over.
Oh, sure.
Especially since they didn't arrest more people because they were all there.
Right. This is getting out of hand. And people, and you watch social media, people don't have any idea what rights mean. Mm-hmm. They don't have any clue.
They're absolute. The rights are absolute.
Our rights are granted by our Creator. The Constitution and the Bill of Rights exist to restrict government from doing things like arresting you for protesting.
Yes.
As long as you're peaceful, you can assemble. You have a right to petition your government. And this hits both those notes on the First Amendment. I mean, this is a huge... The ACLU should be having... should be rubbing their hands together. Doing Zoom conferences with various lawyers, just getting ready to pounce as soon as the courts open back up, because this is why the damn ACLU exists, is to protect things like this. My
agree
God, man.
I know. It's so egregious, and it makes me feel blessed to live where we are, because we've seen lots of egregious things around the state, and we're talking about Savannah, like there's videos of those Savannah police officers flying those drones, but for every police officer and law enforcement and local official even that we see promoting this stuff, we see others who have said, that's ridiculous, or I would never do that, or you would not see me enforcing that, or my administration would not implement something like that. And I really do hope people are taking mental notes of that, because it's a lot easier for me come election time to overlook, some stupid purchasing decisions and remember who these people were during this, when everything mattered way more. Like, what did you do when you had all the power, literally, to take away my rights? What did you do?
Right. Did you use the cover of a disease to steal from the people, to steal the people's rights away?
Right.
And we've said it, I think, every week of this damn thing. People are just begging, please, more government, please, you tell me to stay home. Shut me down. Tell me to stay home.
It's terrifying.
You can stay home without the government telling you. There's nobody dragging you out of your house, unless, of course, some of these folks get their way, and we do door-to-door inspections.
But that's another thing. Like, all these people who are upset about the states opening back up. Okay, well, if your company, or you're the owner of a company, or you're an employee and you don't want to go back to work, then assert your right to do that and stay home. You're sitting there telling me that the government should tell the media is essential, or critical infrastructure. We're exempt, so it's different. But you want people to sit home and not collect a paycheck and just go into financial ruin, but you're not willing to go into financial ruin by staying home voluntarily. You want to take the easy way out and have government force others to do it.
Right.
Okay. I'll remember that too.
Speaking of financial ruin, Trump's name to appear on paper stimulus checks. Who?
So tacky. So tacky.
Now, most people got that are eligible, that had direct deposit on file, got their vote purchase money in their account. But for others that don't have an account in an underserved area, that are getting paper checks, Trump's name is going to be printed in the memo line. Who?
So this is an interesting one, because a lot of people we've seen all over social media and from political opponents, like, if you cash the check, he's definitely your president, and what a 1-2 punch to the people who hate him. I don't see it like that at all. First of all, this is the first time that a president's name has ever appeared on a treasury check. But two, like, I wouldn't want my name on something like that indefinitely. It's socialism.
Right. Well, you also wouldn't have voted for the bill or signed the bill.
I also didn't vote for Donald Trump, so. And
you also wouldn't shut down the economy.
That's very true. I definitely wouldn't.
And I'm of two minds on the stimulus money. One is people need to be responsible for themselves. The other thing is, if the government puts you out of business, I don't know what the responsibility is. They sent you home. They said, "Oh, you cut hair? Not anymore."
Not today.
Not today. I mean, God. We're all going to look like cavemen when this is over. Like, I need a haircut.
I'll just be brunette.
Yeah. I'll be gray. Because I use my short hair to blend the gray in with the scalp. Mm-hmm. Because the gray is coming on the sides first.
Blended in at the scalp. That's funny.
But I don't color my hair, but I wear short hair anyway. But yeah, hairdresser, out of work. You own a nail salon, too bad. You own strip malls. Guess what? No rent this month. So I get it. I don't like it. But the name on the check, the story originally was he wanted it to be in the signature line. And now he says he didn't know about it. What's his quote here? I don't know too much about it, but I understand my name is there. I don't know where they're going or how they're going. I do understand it's not delaying anything, and I'm satisfied with that. I don't imagine it's a big deal. I'm sure people will be happy to get a big, fat, beautiful check with my name on it. I'm not a billionaire, and $1,200 is not a big, fat check.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure
it
things
won't
are
even cover all my expenses for the month. Like, I mean,
right. I mean, and you know what? The more money you made last year, the bigger your expenses are. But rent at an apartment down the street in Kennesaw is like $1,500 or $1,800 a month, which is outrageous to me. But that's not going. One is not going to stimulate the economy. It's just not. Well, I guess it is somewhat. I saw a friend on Facebook say he saw people loading TV after TV after TV at Sam's because they just can't. They got the money, can't wait, just can't wait.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are some killer sales right now because retail is struggling too.
Yeah, I mean, hell, stocks were on sale, and I bought that. Again, I know, privileged white guy thing to say. I know, but I'm also in an essential business, and the reason I didn't have a whole lot going on last week had more to do with the weather than COVID-19. So speaking of government handouts, $2,000 per adult and $500 per kid. This is a proposal brought by House Democrats. That would be 16 and older who make less than $130,000 a year. Would receive cash payments from the federal government for at least 6 months and until the employment falls to pre-pandemic levels. Wow. Jessica?
I mean, first of all, the pre-pandemic levels were phenomenal. So, and we're a long, long way from that. So this is not going to be like a 3 or 6 month plan, first of all. Second, there are some people that you're going to incentivize once again not to work. And third, you know, when you look at the unemployment numbers that came out last week, where just here in Georgia, 1 in 10 Georgians filed, and it's up 1,300% basically from the month prior. All because government told people they can't work and all the increase is coming from people who were told they cannot go to work. The simple solution is to let them go to work. We don't need this.
Look, this is not letting a crisis go to waste. A lot of these folks have been looking for a UBI, a universal basic income, for a few years now and just haven't figured out a way to fit it in. The idea that everybody, regardless, would get whatever the number is, $2,000 a month or whatever the number they finally negotiate out. But, you know, we're not getting to pre-pandemic unemployment numbers. Not anytime soon. I mean, it was record unemployment.
Right.
Which was causing labor rates to go up, which, you know, of course, is overall good for the American worker. But it's, wow. Trusty mathematician Matt Lowe ran the numbers. 6 months would cost $2.7 trillion, $450 billion per month.
That's insane.
I mean, what?
And for what?
Right. And look, here's the thing. Not everybody is affected equally. If you're a hairdresser, things just got real hairy for you. It's bad. You know, it's you went from making X to 0 to X minus X. But if you work in an auto plant, if you know you're in several industries, your income hasn't changed. If you're in banking, your income hasn't changed. If you're a teacher, your income hasn't changed. If you're anything in government, your income hasn't changed.
And they're going to get this on top of.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're retired, your income hasn't changed. Now, if you're a pilot, your income changed drastically. Because you went from flying 3 days a week to maybe 1 day a week. If you're a flight attendant, it has changed drastically. And the thing is like pilots, especially an international pilot, would be exempt from this. Because most likely, he's making six figures for a major airline like Delta or something like that. But you also have major bills, which is, again, it's not the government's fault. It's not my fault. But, you got 2 or 3 ex-wives you got to keep paying, and a house, and kids in college, and everything else has got to get paid. And your income just got cut by a third. Into a third. Cut by 2/3. So, giving me this money, I am going to see some effects just by the nature of people not having money to pay. Like they may go out and buy a window air conditioner and live with that where they wouldn't have a year ago because, a brand new system is expensive. But my income is not going to go to 0. Connie works for a bank. It's not going to 0. This is not targeted at people who are affected. This is targeted to set a base that a UBI is a good thing. And this is not the final numbers. This is where negotiations start. But don't be surprised they don't try to sneak it in.
It would be the end because of a lot of things that we've drifted a long way from our foundations and our limited government. But my God, this would truly be the end of a lot of things because when you give people that kind of money, you can't take it away. It's the same reason all of our other handouts have never gone away, and the timelines for them just get longer. And
right. Look, think about the Lowe family. Lowe has not seen a drop off in work, but he'd be 2,000, Martha 2,000. He's got 6 kids. I think most of them are under 16, so that would be another 3,000. That's $7,000 a month going to his family that really is not seeing a drop off. And if his oldest remaining is 16, you can bump that up by another $1,500. That's insane. That's insane to set that standard. Now, again, I don't think those will be the final numbers, but it is a standard that they'll set, and whatever it is, if it ends up being $500 a month, whatever it is, it will be accepted, and then from now on, from that date on, it will be a discussion of how much should it be, not should it exist. And we already have unemployment. So you'd be getting unemployment and this.
Well, and I'm still failing to see how this is actually going to stop what they're trying to stop. Eventually this is all going to collapse and there won't be any more to give. And industries actually will crumble, entire industries. And then we're going to have people on the streets and hungry and with literally nothing to do. And keep in mind that we made all these decisions but like within 10 days of finding out the virus was here in the United States.
Also understand, no nation has ever become wealthy with socialism. It always leads to rationing. It always leads to bread lines. It is always on a decline. That's
why we got to eat a lot now.
Yeah. Well, I am. This is always the result. It's been tried several times in history, and people just don't admit it doesn't work. You have to let the economy work. If you want to argue for a safety net for those at the bottom, that's a discussion we can have, and we can have that in a reasonable way. I still don't think it's the role of government, but we can have that discussion in a reasonable way. But to start talking about a universal basic income, incentivizing not working, incentivizing having more children you can't afford, is absurd. Turn Matt Lowe into a welfare queen. Like, why go to work? So, Jessica, you have any closing thoughts?
I just have like one little quote that I saw this week, or last week, or rather, from Las Vegas Mayor Carolyn Goodman, because she's obviously, Las Vegas has taken a huge hit, and she wants the governor to reopen the state, and she put out this long statement and did a press conference, but she said, "Let me tell you, with a population of 3.2 million people living in Nevada, those whom we lost represent less than 0.5% of our population, which has caused us to shut down the entire state and everything that makes Nevada unique." And she harped on how awful it is that people have died and that, families are suffering and people are suffering in the middle of this. But it's, we can talk about the policies all day long, but when you actually look at the numbers and you look at less than 0.5% of the population and everyone else is suffering, like it's truly remarkable and frustrating and disappointing. And I thought it was a good perspective.
That was great. And yeah, Vegas is a huge service economy. And they're talking about driving down the strip and the lights are off in all the hotels. Obviously nobody feels for necessarily the casino owners, which, you may actually own casino stock in some of your mutual funds if you have any. But the dealers, the people that work hourly, the pit bosses, the cocktail waitresses, the bartenders, the maids, everybody that in that machine is being laid off for what did you say, 0.5%?
Less than 0.5%.
I mean, that's going to be the thing to remember when this is all over, is what we sacrificed.
Mm-hmm.
We sacrificed our freedom, we sacrificed our income, we sacrificed our financial stability because we were scared of a virus.
Yep.
Well, I think your closing thought would trump anything I have, so I will let you have the last on that one. Thank you very much for listening. For Jessica Szilagyi, for Eric Cumby, our editor, I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.